Kaylee, and I'm here to tell you how I am courageous. I've always believed that I've had a strong calling on my life as far as the Lord and how my parents raised me and what I've grown up to know based upon my beliefs and my religion. I've always had strong faith in the Lord. I've always been tested throughout life with my faith. But today I want to talk to you and hopefully reach out to several women or even men in relationships that involve domestic violence or just toxic and volatile relationships. I met the father of my son now about 5 years ago. When I first met him, I wanted nothing to do with him. He was not my type. He was kind of scary looking. And of course that was just me judging from the outside, which I know that I'm in my faith and in my beliefs, that's not something that I normally do or that I should do. So when this all started, he was very persistent, constantly trying to take me out and do things and get together. And that's what made me go forward with the relationship with him, because he was so persistent. And of course that was attractive to me because it was as if he was chasing me. As time went on, at first the relationship was great. Everything was going well. We moved in together. Everything seemed as an average, normal relationship would be. There was a point in the relationship where I did get pregnant and I had a miscarriage. And after that miscarriage, I don't know if that is what triggered the abuse or if that had something to do internally with him that made him feel that he could then mistreat me. Because after that first miscarriage is when the abuse started. At first it just started with him manhandling me and grabbing me and pushing me. And then it got to a point where he was using his hands and choking me and literally throwing me to the ground and out of my house and kicking me while I was down. And these moments in my life were,
It's okay.
were the weakest moments of my life. I felt so alone. I felt left behind because of how I was raised and how, in my beliefs and my religion. I felt that the Lord had left me alone to deal with this. And in my younger days, I had friends that had been in abusive relationships, and I was the first one to be like, how could you stay there? How could you do that? You know, how could you be with someone that would do that to you? You need to leave immediately. You know, I had no idea what I was talking about and telling someone else what to do until I had to experience that by myself. And with him, it just kept getting worse. And it wasn't just physical abuse. There was a lot of physical abuse. However, there was also emotional and mental abuse. I was isolated from my friends and my family, and I wasn't allowed to go out and do things or wear certain things. It got to a point where I couldn't wear certain things out of the house. And these were all signs that I should have been paying attention to and realizing that this one day is going to get a lot worse. Eventually, I ended up pregnant again with my son, who I love very much, and I would not take him back for anything in the world. Even though it didn't come from the best relationship or the best partner, my son is what saved me from where I was at in that point in my life. I distinctly remember one day, I'm not even quite sure what the argument was about or what happened, but my son was new. He was maybe a couple weeks old. He was still a tiny little baby, and he was so precious. And he was upset. His father was upset about, I think it was the clothes that I had put on. It was clothes that pre-pregnancy, and I don't know why he felt like I shouldn't have wore those clothes or what it was, but he was holding my son, and with his other hand, he shoved me by my neck to the ground, and he just repeatedly was kicking me over and over and over again with my son in his arms. And at that point, I literally wanted to die. I recall going out to the garage, finally separating myself from him and him sitting inside with our son. I went out to the garage and I was screaming at God at the top of my lungs. I'm surprised that the cops didn't come or the neighbors didn't call someone, because I was in there on my hands and knees screaming at God to kill me right then and there, just to kill me. Because that was one of the worst moments of my life, is seeing my little baby boy being in the same room as his father, who's beating on me. And as I'm sitting in the garage and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, and I'm terrified for what's going to happen and how this is going to go and what I could do, because I felt like there was no way out. There was nowhere for me to go. Financially, there was nowhere for me to go, and no way that I could do it by myself. And I hear, and it's not like I literally I hear a voice, but it's inside of me, and it stops me from screaming. And I hear, "You have a purpose. You have a purpose, and there is something for you." And I pull myself up off the garage floor, tears everywhere. I get myself together to go back inside. And I go back inside and I take my new baby boy away from him, and I go and I lay down. We go and lay down. And I'm just, in my mind, I'm just praying. I'm over and over again. I'm like, "God, please help me. Save me. Do something. Because I can't do this anymore. And my son, who will one day be a man, cannot see this. Ever. I did not ever want my son to see that." So I went to work that next week. And this is how I knew I was crazy, is because at work and around people that I knew or people that knew him, he was so charming and so charismatic that everyone thought that he was just so great. And how I knew that he had done something to me, or I started like covering for him. I started making up things, saying, "Oh, he does this for me," or, "Oh, he's such a great man." Like I was making cover stories because I didn't want people to see the reality of what I was living. Mm-hmm. Because what I was living was so embarrassing and so pathetic. Like I felt like, and I've always been the person to be so strong and be so independent and be so like outspoken, and I was torn down by one single person, by mm-hmm. one human being. And I met this other man.
Yes.
At work. And I don't know if now, today, I believe that he was sent to me for a reason. Because if it wasn't for him being a friend to me, I wouldn't have had the courage to leave, to get my stuff and leave.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was so afraid to be alone and to do it alone. And one day when he was at work, I went into our house and I called my mom and I called my sister and I finally told them the truth about everything that had been going on. And of course, they're right there to pack up my whole house and take everything, because even though they thought he was such a great guy and he had them so fooled in the beginning, they were not going to allow me to be in that position that I was in, especially with my son. And we went in that house and we packed up as many things as we could take in our small little vehicles, and I left.
Amen.
And that was one of the hardest things that I'd ever had to do, because when I did that and he found out that we weren't there, he was calling my job, he was calling me, he was calling everyone. He was telling me that he even showed up to my job. And this was the scariest part, because he showed up to my job and he said, if you don't come downstairs and talk to me right now, I'm going to come up there and I will kill you in front of everyone. And I was so scared. And of course, Terrence, the man I believe is from God.
Amen. And he is.
He told me that if this is really what is happening, and if this is really how I feel, that I need to be protected. And he took me into my boss's office. We had a conversation, and it was discussed that I needed to leave work and go get a protective order. I went to go get the protective order, and of course that was one of the scariest moments, because they literally made me take off all of my clothes.
Wow.
And took several pictures of me and all the bruises all over my... And it was terrifying. It was terrifying for people you don't even know to just be staring at you and so vulnerable and already so scared because someone's looking for you, you know. It just... But if I would not have went and done that, I don't think that where I'm at today, I don't think that I would ever, I would still be in that toxic, scary relationship because of my son. And at first I did. I wanted to try to keep my family together. I come from a divorced home, and I didn't want my son to have two separate parents and, you know, have to go to two different places. But I also don't want my son to grow up believing that it's okay to abuse and beat and torment women.
Man.
Because that's not acceptable. And I had to come to terms with myself after praying with Terrence and with my parents and everyone who was involved and who supported me, that I am worth something.
That's right.
I am worth something.
That's right, baby.
And I don't deserve anything less
That's right.
than what God has for me.
That's right. One of the things that I love about you, Kayla, is that you have a certain strength and a certain, it's just the beauty of your spirit that makes people want to be in your presence. And when you said that you have a purpose, baby, your purpose is so much bigger than where you are right now. And God, I believe that God allows us to go through certain situations, as bad as they may seem, but keeping in mind that you do have a purpose, because the reality of it is you are on your way somewhere. As a matter of fact, Terrence, I'm ready for them to walk down the aisle. I really am, because he is an amazing man. And so,
great.
I want you to tell everybody about this newfound relationship and what this man means to you.
He is my best friend, and that's how it all started. He was a friend before anything else. I feel so comfortable with him. We can talk about anything and everything, and he constantly makes me laugh. He's the funniest person ever. And it's like, I feel like so strongly that the Lord brought him into my life because the point in my life that I was in, I was so negative and so down and so sad all the time. And of course, in walks in this happy, positive, always smiling person that's just has a get it done attitude and knows how to fix it. And he is just, he gives me everything that I deserve.
Amen.
And I honestly and truly believe that this is the something that the Lord was telling me about, because he is, I can't even put into words how great he is. Like, he is the man that I want to marry and be with for the rest of my life, because he makes me feel as if I'm the only one in the world. And he treats me that way as well.
Man.
And not only that, but he also has a great relationship with God that I feel like that is what is needed to keep a strong relationship as well. Because the other relationship, there was no God
in the equation.
Right.
I've said that one of the things that phrases that I coined is like, when a man knows how to love God, he's going to know how to love you. Because the reality of it is, everything that he does for you will be to please God. And it's a big difference. It's a big
huge difference. I never knew what this could feel like. Any relationship that I've ever had before, even before the abusive relationship, and I never knew that this love and this life that I have now ever existed. I thought everyone out there was putting on the same smile and face that I was putting on, because I was trying to hide and show a different story than what was really happening.
That's
I didn't
usually
know
the
this
case,
could
though.
be real.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's all because you were courageous enough to get out, baby. And I'm so glad that you did. I'm so glad that God has crossed our paths, because I am so in love with you.
I love you.
You are my baby. I have a white baby, y'all. I do. Y'all
And I
didn't know?
love her. I love her so much.
I want you to tell, what words would you give to somebody that was going through the same thing that you went through?
Don't give up. And
It's okay.
he will never leave you or forsake you. Ever. You just have to be strong enough to hold on, because what you're going through is going to get you to your purpose.
Amen. Amen. And I think those words that's fitting to end this video right now. I'm just blessed by this young lady, and
I am blessed by her. I love you.
I love you too, baby. Right. I love you too. I want to encourage anybody that's in an abusive situation or abusive relationship to get out. Be courageous enough to get out and know that you are worth something, that you are valuable, and that you do have a purpose. Be blessed. Thank you.